God bless you, world, wherever you are today. We thank you so much for joining us across the world as you join Christian Straight Talk. We've got Simon and myself, and we've got our lovely brother Brian Greenaway from Maoz International, Israel. And Brian's going to bring quite a lot of information to the mic. You know, we got nothing planned. We never have anything planned. This is purely just as the Lord leads us through the power of the Holy Spirit and whatever is happening at these moments in time through Israel, across the world. If you want to find any information out, just go on to Christian Straight Talk online. The website's up and running. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's got links to Brian's ministry that he's so involved in and been in for so many years, Maoz Israel. There's so much stuff to find out about Israel, but we've got Brian and Simon is with us today. And God bless every one of you across the world. But let's hand it over to Brian as he shares and he leads in this conversation. But God bless every one of you today across the world in Jesus' name. Amen. Afternoon, Brian.
Afternoon. Good to be with you.
How you going?
Yeah, we're doing well, considering the circumstances. It's a very British answer, I know. Everything's well, considering. But
everything is well. Shall we have a cup of tea and a bit of cake, and that puts it all to
is
rights.
Well with my soul. That's the thing.
Amen.
There we go.
That's good.
Brian, it's so lovely to have you with us today, and we thank God for your life and the ministry and everything that's going on in Maoz, UK, and the rest of the ministry that stretches out. Where are we sitting? There's lots of information. There's so much things going on. Since we met last, everything seems to be changing fast and furious. We've got marches on the streets. We've got the leader of Israel. There's a warrant and all that sort of stuff. And there's so much going on all the time. Brian, where do we start with today? What have you got for us today?
Well, we're still at war. That's basically what it is in Israel. But things seem to be taking on a different sort of slant now, a different sort of phase of the war. Of course, Rafah was invaded in the end by Israel. They haven't done it as quickly as they should have done because there have been restrictions put on them by the states. They have caused problems. I mean, basically, if you look at it straightforward, you've got a terrorist organisation, haven't you, controlling a large amount of population they're using as human shields, holding hostages, which effectively they're a death cult. You know, they're like any of the worst terrorist organisations. And any country in the world that's sane would say, yeah, right, we need to get rid of these guys and we need to do it quickly. So delaying things by holding up arms and making them talk to terrorists is making things worse for everybody. It's making it worse for the Palestinians. 1 million of them have had to be moved from Rafah to other areas. More Israeli soldiers are dying. It's approaching 300 now. Terrorists that are alive, hostages. We don't know how many hostages are alive. Some say around about 40. But as this goes on, who knows how many are left, including young children, young women, older folks, all over 80s, still held. We hope still alive as hostages. So this thing needs to be done really quickly. But it's straining on the nation. They talk about PTSD, but that's post, isn't it? This is like permanent or ongoing stress and trauma for the whole nation. That is one of the big issues, the trauma, the ongoing trauma, which is fueled by Israeli people looking across the world to Western nations like ours and seeing hate marches, support for Hamas, support for terrorists. And so, think of it as an Israeli. So you've been attacked by terrorists. You're in a war situation. You're trying to rescue your civilian relatives from hostage. And then across the world, nations that you think are free and democratic and love democracy are allowing demonstrations that are in support of the terrorists that kidnap your family. It's really hard for the average Israeli to deal with these sort of things.
So the mental health and the stress and the strain on the Israeli people and the relentless of this attacks and so much still going on, it must be wearing, isn't it? And the army, it's not a massive army, is it? And when you look at the support from around the world, as we said earlier off air, we've got the UK elections coming up. Are the new government, this government, going to start dropping off the peg in what they do with Israel and support? America has held weaponry back at some point, didn't they? Was it because of the Rafah situation? What was all that about?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is, who knows what they're trying to do, really. I mean, I don't understand why America, like other free democratic nations, don't want to give 100% support to defeating terrorism. After all, that's what they did against Osama bin Laden. And ISIS, the coalition went into Iraq and said, we're going to take these terrorists out because they're a threat to the whole world. And that's what's happening now in Israel. And I don't know why they just keep delaying things, keep tripping the whole negotiation system.
I think there's a lot of history there where, you've got Biden, Blinken, Obama strengthened Iran in that area, and they thought a strong Iran would be best for that area, didn't they? So
for Iraq, situation in Iraq.
So where Trump had actually would cut Iran off from the rest of the world. The States now with Biden and Blinken, they've opened that up again. They've given all the money so there was $6 billion. They've given all that back. But now, obviously, something has gone on in Iran where the leader was killed, wasn't he, in a helicopter crash. So
that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're not sure where we're at there. I think underlying a lot of the normal Iranian people want to come out of that.
So. Oh yes, I mean, it's not representative of the Iranian people, is it? Their government, it isn't. And there are many Iranians who are supporting Israel because before the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran and Israel were very close allies, working together in military technology and other things as well. Very close. A large Jewish population, of course, in Iran. Then it's very small now, but now since the Islamic Revolution, they've become the sworn enemies, really, of Israel and of the free world. It's not just Israel. People need to realise that. It's not about Israel, it's about the world.
So this helicopter crash as well by this leader, so he is the one that gave the authority, I assume, to fire the drones and the rockets. And this is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, most senior government minister.
The most senior government minister gave the okay with whatever and however they do that. So he allowed on that terrible day not long ago, was it 300 all in all, the drones and the rockets?
Hundreds and hundreds of rockets and drones and ballistic missiles as well, some very large.
Yeah, and we see some of the pictures and all that, what you sent through. But then all of a sudden, his helicopter is taken out and there's so much you could speculate.
There's a lesson here.
There is a lesson.
Intervention, because, remember that Turkish minister who cursed Israel?
He did.
In the Turkish parliament. And he said, et cetera, he made this speech. And then the moment he steps down from the pulpit, he drops down dead.
He dropped dead.
And this guy has been
And I was going to
Israel.
mention that Turkish leader.
Surely it's not coincidence, is it?
There's no such thing as coincidence, isn't it? When you look at all this stuff, it's so serious. So as you see all this stuff breaking out, and you've got all these terrorists still doing what they're doing, even here in the UK, you've got all these marches that are going on, lifting that flag up and that, and amongst it, that there are terrorist organisations working. So Israel, would you say that Israel's in the biggest battle of its entire history, biblically?
Hear honest conversations about anti-Semitism, new generations reshaping their connection to Jewish identity, and first-hand stories of how our community is supporting Israel. Subscribe to Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or watch Mosaic at jewishpb.org.
Yeah, it's an existential threat, really. Many Israelis are thinking, there are many who do not believe the Bible, don't understand the covenant promises. So they're thinking, do we have to get out of here? Are we going to fall? That was definitely at the beginning what people were thinking that, and there's still an amount of the population who think that, but where else are they going to go? It's the only Jewish state in the world, a tiny bit of land, so...
So what's the score, Brian, with the north? Is there still refugees in the north displaced from where they should be living?
Oh yeah, there are many thousands of refugees. They're still in one of our schools in Nazareth. The day before yesterday, there was an indiscriminate rocket attack from Hezbollah on it's like a football ground, that sort of a leisure sort of area, which injured 11 people. It was just completely indiscriminate, and so there are still a lot of rockets coming in. So the estimate now is, I think it's 3,000 acres of land has been destroyed, and we've got this shortage of farmland anyway because of what happened. So that's more lovely part of the northern Israel. So if people have been there, know it can be quite green up there. So yeah, thousands and thousands of acres of land have been destroyed by a fire because it's 40 degrees there at the moment. It's very warm. So we've had the fire, we've had rockets nearly every day. We've had over 500 properties damaged, many of them domestic homes. Now, some have been damaged by the exchange of fire between the IDF and Hezbollah, but hundreds, they're saying that even if some people were able to return to these areas, they wouldn't be livable for at least a year because the whole community I think one kibbutz has had 60% of its properties destroyed in the north.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of damage in the north from indiscriminate rocket fire from Hezbollah.
So when you talk about Hezbollah, when Israel take out Hamas and that is finally dealt with, they still got the issue of Hezbollah.
That's it, yeah.
So it's a continuation, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So what the military commanders are saying now, this is obviously a political decision, what we do about Hezbollah, whether we go in or not. They'd like to finish off Hamas first because there's not only Hamas and there's not only Hezbollah in the north, which is a bigger threat really than Hamas, where they have a lot more rockets, they're a lot more organised. There's not as many civilians, though, that would the potential of being harmed in southern Lebanon. And then you've also got the West Bank, where you've got Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad operating in the West Bank. So they've got to keep quite a police and military force in that area to protect the border and protect that whole area from the terrorism. So it's three fronts, really, all backed by Iran. Three fronts they're fighting on.
Yeah, well, and a few more probably politically, but
it's true.
But it was just off air, we were talking about there's still people enjoying time in Gaza on the beaches, aren't they, Brian? There's still shopping and stuff.
Oh, yeah, and in the markets.
Life is going on
Yeah.
pretty much
There's
normal,
a lot of food,
isn't it?
One of the problems within Gaza is the continual demand for supplies. Now, yesterday in the briefing, there were 1,100 trucks waiting to be picked up by the UN. There's no more space for Israel to send in aid because they've sent so much aid that it's filled up the car parks of the UN area, and the UN are not collecting it. No one's collecting it. And
this is interesting, Brian, because we don't see this. So Israel has sent in humanitarian aid. There is so much in there, but the UN is not delivering what Israel has dropped off.
That's right, yeah.
So the car parks are filled with all types of everything that you can imagine of. So they're trying to look after, but the UN are causing a backlog.
Yeah,
but
so
you don't hear about this on the news.
Look at the list of aid. 37 trucks of fuel. Let's have a look what it says here. I've got it. This is from the Kojak briefing of how much 4 tankers of fuel designated for the operation of essential infrastructure entered Gaza yesterday. That was the 5th. Through the Jordanian route, 16 food trucks, World Food Programme trucks, went to the Eretz crossing. Northern Gaza, 39 trucks are coordinated to northern Gaza. So, there's lots of trucks going in. And they talk about these other aid. I mean, they tried, didn't they, the parachuting aid, but it was killing people. The parachute land killing people. Yeah. And then the Americans spent $250 million building a pier.
Oh, yeah.
$250 million.
Yeah.
Some people in Gaza shot at it and damaged it, and it washed away. They ended up in Ashdod. It washed along the Mediterranean coast.
But no one talks about that.
This is crazy.
No.
It's crazy.
So, Brian, historically, Israel has given land up over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's always been a mistake.
Yeah, and they gave land to Jordan, didn't they? Yeah. And they wanted to have some sort of peace line with Yasser Arafat, didn't they? But he kept saying no.
No, he had no intention of peace. I mean, Jordan kicked him out. Virtually, Jordan almost lost its identity through the Palestinians, at least those led by Yasser Arafat. There was a civil war, Black September, and the Jordanian army had to fight against the Palestinians led by Yasser Arafat and kick them out of the nation. They ended up in Lebanon, most of them. So Jordan's had its own war against the Palestinians.
Yeah, historically, Israel has given in more times than people realise. They want peace. Yeah, but Arafat said no, all the time.
Never did.
No, never. They asked for something, Israel would give it to them, and then they want something more. Yeah. But it was no intention, like you said.
They won't do it because in Hamas' charter is the destruction of Israel. That's what they exist to do.
that's the core
Yeah.
of their belief, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it's like
all
saying
they
it's
want to
not
do.
selling food. I know it sounds a silly analogy, but it is.
But it's true. They
exist to destroy Israel.
So when you look at Israel itself, all the way through biblical times, all the way through, it has had its back against the wall. It has been shot at. It has been ripped apart. The locusts have come in. They spent time and years and years and years in the desert not knowing who they are. I just cannot work it out only by the scripture that God just keeps this little nation ticking and rumbling and moving forward. When you think you got Hezbollah, you got Hamas, and who was the other one?
Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ for short.
Yeah.
Three major ones coming at it. Now, you mentioned back a few minutes ago about there was other rocket attacks keep coming in. We don't see this on the news.
No, the sirens went off in Tel Aviv. I think it was at the weekend. There's rocket fire from Rafah, still firing rockets from Rafah.
Still firing from Rafah.
Yeah. So this was this case. Now, recently there was a fire, wasn't it, in part of a refugee area within Gaza, and people said, they've indiscriminately attacked. Well, what happened was Israel have got some very, very good munitions. So they've got this missile that weighs about 13 kilograms, and they could get us sitting here in this room, without damaging people in the next room. They're that sophisticated. So they took out some Hamas leaders who were sitting in their house, I think. They're very, very precise, and they always check to see whether or not there are civilians nearby. So they took out these Hamas leaders, but there was some sort of arms dump. So you can imagine if you destroy one room and they didn't know there was an arms dump next door, and that exploded, caused a fire, which set fire to some home, and sadly some non-combatants died in that. But they're being very, very careful, Israel, in all of those areas, but that doesn't get reported.
But Brian, the bottom line of this is if Egypt would allow the refugees in, then, but they're not, are they?
Oh no, they don't want the Palestinians.
No one wants the Palestinians.
People seems to care about them. Then they say, "You take them." Well, we don't want them.
We don't want them. And there was a little bit of gunfire between Egypt and Israel.
Oh yes, there was. Yeah, an Egyptian soldier got killed. He seemed to fire at the Israel. What the Egyptians said was, "Can you only carry small arms when you come near our border?" And they said, "Well, we can't because there are terrorists here. We can't carry a pistol. We've got to protect ourselves."
Goodness gracious, mate!
Because Rafah, not many people know that Rafah, the city of Rafah, used to straddle the border between Egypt and Gaza, so it was a big city area. But over a period of time, Egypt evacuated all the people out of Rafah, Egypt side, and they ended up in the Gaza side. Then they dismantled the entire city, destroyed that side. So that's why Rafah is so crowded, because Egypt has kicked all the Palestinians out of there.
And they don't want them in.
They don't want them in. No, they don't want them at all.
Jordan don't want them.
No, they'll take international people because then they can push them on elsewhere.
Okay, so could you, while we're talking about Rafah, could you explain to me a little bit of why Rafah is mentioned so much, and what is the crossing? What is that area? Why it's heavily policed, military? Well, it was. What is the significance of the Rafah crossing?
Sure, yeah. So Rafah is the crossing between Egypt and Gaza. And so when the hostages were set free, people may remember some were set free last year, I think it was. Can you remember? That was the crossing where they came through. Or if people were watching the news, they saw the live cameras of the coaches of hostages leaving Gaza and going through the Rafah crossing into Egypt. So that's the main crossing point above. I mean, there's all the Hamas have their own secret tunnels underneath they cross, but that's the public crossing. So the reason it's become highlighted is, of course, Israel have invaded Gaza. They've pushed Hamas further and further back, and this is the last stop, really. This is the backs to the wall. Rafah is right on the Egyptian border, and so that's where they've bottled them up in that area.
And the Palestinians want to get into Egypt, but they're not allowed. And Egypt said no. No,
unless they have international passports.
And so all the other Arab states don't want them.
No, they don't want to take. Qatar won't take them.
No, and that's where
Jordan won't.
Hamas's main leaders are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
In Qatar, aren't they?
That don't make sense. It does make sense, doesn't it? When you think
Saudi don't want them. Saudi are too busy courting the world with they
football,
the boxing,
the boxing.
The big Tyson Usyk fight was all the boxing now is in Saudi, isn't it? Do you know?
It's really interesting how the borders are so tight. You've got all that going on within Israel, and then you've got all the sporting events going on, all the oil, everything going on. We don't want no refugees. We just want. It's crazy. So you've got this tiny geographical area of Israel where everything is happening in this small. You said it's the size of Wales, didn't you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
So when you think about that, all this is going on, being pushed around. So Hamas they got their back against the border of Egypt. Is that correct? So
yes, they have. Yeah.
So I wonder how they're going to play that. I wonder what will happen, because obviously Egypt must have some finger in the pie to do with terrorism. There must be something somewhere.
I think what it is that Sisi, he's the leader of Egypt, he has not had much sympathy with Hamas because they know that Hamas will bring instability to any nation. That's why they don't want them there. They don't want the instability. And now, of course, there's lots of people in Egypt, ordinary people, who are more sympathetic towards Hamas. So he's got that balancing act. So what he probably doesn't want to do, I mean, this is something in mind, is that he doesn't want too many Palestinians in his country, because he could end up having a rebellion. He could end up, remember there are millions there. He could end up with the same situation that Jordan had, and probably the Jordanian leaders will speak to the Egyptian leaders, say, don't take these guys, we had a problem with them, you don't want them, they're going to cause problem for you. That's what they don't want. Who wants 1 million extra people who have, of course, maybe not through their own fault, but through the education system, will cause all sorts of problems for Israel. They don't want that take. It's like taking a fire into your pocket, isn't it?
The whole political situation just gets more complicated, if you like, because where you've got Egypt, they survived the Arab Spring, if you call it, so you've got Libya that went, and now is a complete mess. Algeria, complete mess, chaos. And you've got these, so they want some stability. Also, one of their biggest incomes in the national thing is tourism. So they don't want people who are not going to go, hold on a minute, I'm not going to see the pyramids because I've got this to contend with. No, they're massive on tourism, aren't they? And stuff.
Money. It's the fuel, isn't it? It's the fuel.
It's like stable as well.
It's like the Saudis with what was the Abraham Accord? They want to have peace with Israel, don't they? Because the Saudis are now loving the Western world.
That's right.
Sport is overtaking the world. So with the hostages, do we know exactly that they was all kept together, or was they split up and gathered in different parts? Does anybody know where they actually are? Have they got a clue where they was, how they come to come through? Did they come from Egypt? What was when they released them?
Oh yeah.
So how did
through Egypt? Yeah, they did. They came through the Rafah Crossing on coaches.
Yes.
And then they were flown to Israel. I think they flew. Yeah, they used helicopters.
So do we know? Look, how did they get to Egypt? So did Hamas take them?
Yes, they did.
Into
Hamas
Egypt,
escorted them
through the border.
I think there were like Egyptian drivers or Red Cross drivers.
Red Cross drivers.
So they drove the coaches. Hamas were the ones who feigned a humanitarian, but if you saw the reactions of some of the hostages, they didn't want anything to do with the Hamas people that had kept them. And one thing they had to do was protect them, because many Palestinians were jeering and shouting at them and really wanted to kill them. So they needed, strangely enough, Hamas had to hold back the Palestinians from killing them.
Hang on a minute.
I know, this is really odd, isn't it?
This is odd. You've got the terrorists protecting
in that sense,
the hostages to a degree.
Because there's a public scene now, isn't it? Hamas treat the terrorists.
So now the spotlight's on.
When the spotlight's on, it's, we're looking after you. They're not looking after them at all, but it's a case of, look how humane we are. We're letting these hostages go.
And we're protecting them.
Yeah.
But also, Brian, from what we've discussed before on this platform, it wasn't just Hamas who took hostages, was it? No. So it's just maybe
ordinary
people just burst through the wire, the fence, grabbed a couple of women or whatever and dragged them back.
That's right, yeah.
So we don't know what's going on with these people.
And the hostage stories were like that as well. Some of those that were released said it wasn't necessarily Hamas or PIJ or keeping us. It was, I think it was one hostage who said, I was with a Palestinian family.
It's just so bizarre.
Just kept me in their home.
They thought they were going to get a few quid.
Well, it's money. Yeah, it's money.
It all comes down to control and money and all that sort of stuff. So we don't actually know the exact number of hostages that are actually left.
No, 124 is the number unaccounted for.
So that's the unaccounted for.
There were some people saying that maybe only 40 are still alive. We hope it's more. I would think that the Israeli and the American intelligence services have an idea where they are. Obviously, they're not going to say anything about intelligence. Of course they're not. They did rescue 2 hostages, 2 men. Or was it a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago? But they're probably, in where there's a lot of terrorists. If they were to try to get to them, they would be killed. So,
it doesn't bear thinking about what's happening to the young women.
No, it's terrible.
And the children and the young women.
Sex slaves,
It just can't, the vile acts that go on. So when we look at America, that we've been pretty vocal about, and the UK, where does Israel, you spoke about that weaponry that they have, it's so precise. Does Israel produce its own weapons, or does it bring stuff into a degree? Who's supporting it? Because when you think of this continuation of fire, bullets alone, guns and all this, it must be costing a fortune in every way. Is it going to run out? Is there the threat that if America stops putting this in there, where does it all come from?
Yeah, well, there's different levels. Israel is one of the world leaders in military technology.
Yes.
And it's quite interesting that people are talking about the UK should boycott arms going to Israel, because our arms that we supply to Israel is only 4% of their arms. It doesn't mean anything, but we get a lot more from Israel. We would lose out big time if we didn't trade with Israel militarily. That's just one aside. The thing about is the volume that they need. And America, of course, is one of the biggest arms producers in the world, and so they can produce the volume of the precision-guided bombs and missiles. That's what they really need to come in. And they've just signed a deal for another squadron of F-35s. These are the specialist aircraft. Only America and Israel, I think, use them. They're the ones that fly into Iran and take out radar stations, and nobody knows they've ever been there. That's costing $3 billion. So Israel are paying for that, but they're paying for it with American money.
I love this.
So America's funding it. So America, it's about the money and the volume of arms that they need to be produced.
So whatever the politics say on the outside, the military-industrial complex of the States is so massive and so huge and so important. It steers where it goes. They will completely keep supplying Israel because it's money at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's money.
It's money,
And it's and of course, if they hold back on the precision weapons, Israel has to use less precision weapons, which is what they have got some of. And of course, that means there's more chance of non-combatants being injured and killed if they don't have the precise weapons.
Yeah, so there's a big conversation about that. So when we were just talking about the UK, so the UK benefits from Israel's technology in weaponry.
Yeah, they do. And in other areas, we wouldn't have our phones without Israel technology. We wouldn't have a lot of our computers or stuff that we use in everyday life without Israeli technology. It leads the world in many areas.
It really is an interesting place, isn't it, Israel, what comes out of it and everything that is produced from that. We've had this issue with the leader of Israel, there was this stuff going on that they're trying to get a warrant after him and they're going to imprison him and do all that sort of stuff. Give us a bit of a rundown of what was all that about, because it hit the news for a few hours and then it disappeared.
Yeah, so it started with South Africa's, well, it didn't start, it was before that, but one of the major part of this was South Africa's move to sort of accuse Israel of war crimes. Now, of course, South Africa is a country which is failing politically, as we know.
It's horrendous.
Just had the election there. Yeah. But so there is a bit of an axis of power between Iran and South Africa.
Oh, okay.
So they're getting fuel from them, they're getting money from them. So Iran have pushed South Africa into taking a case in the International Criminal Court against Israel. So that was heard, and they made certain rulings. And then what's happened now is that this accusation from this group of lawyers within that court, including quite a few British lawyers, is that they said that the International Court said that Israel must stop fighting straight away. Because they're causing genocide. Now they misuse the words. Basically, they misused the word because the International Court didn't say that. They did say that the fighting should stop, the hostages should be returned, and if Israel was carrying out war crimes, then they should stop immediately. And that no one's been able to prove any war crimes or anything like that. But still, the next stage of this thing is now they have issued these arrest warrants for Bibi Netanyahu and the Israeli foreign minister. At the same time, they said that Sinwar, who heads up the Hamas in Gaza, should be arrested, and 2 of his senior illegal highest people as well. But there is the whole thing about this is, first, it's wrong, but secondly, the equivalence is the thing. So they are making the prime minister of the only democracy in the Middle East who is not carrying out war crimes. They've made him equivalent with the leader of a terrorist organisation. So, to quote somebody else, I heard somebody say, this is, in fact, it would be Bibi Netanyahu, saying this is like making an equivalence during the Gulf War between Osama bin Laden and George Bush, or between Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Hitler in the Second World War. You cannot make an equivalence, any moral equivalence between those leaders whatsoever.
So this court that's come up with all this stuff, what power does it actually have? And who's behind it? Who's going to go and arrest? Who's going to go and arrest these terrorists? Who has the bottle to go up to them and go, we've got a warrant after you?
It's a difficult thing because many countries don't recognise it has any power, including the States, many countries, European countries. They say, well, yeah, it's great you're saying all this, but actually it's not actually an official court. Now, it's the same court, though, there's this which becomes diplomatically delicate. It is the same court that has issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. Now, of course, the Americans love that, and other countries do. He's definitely bad, we should arrest him. So they can't, with the one hand, say, oh, yeah, we agree with them there. Well, maybe they can say it, but they cannot get their weight behind the ICC for arrest warrant that they don't agree with. It becomes very complicated. But it is not an international court. It's called that, but it's not.
It's such a pointless exercise because all this sort of stuff, to a degree, is not going to go nowhere. It's on the news for a quick fire up. You hear the leader of Israel is going to be arrested, and you think, oh, what was all that about? It's almost propaganda to stir the pot, but they don't go into the depth and the detail that you're not going to have some couple of little blokes turn up to his door and go, we're arresting you. It's crazy sort of stuff.
It's exactly like the UN, and where the Iranian guy stood up and they allowed him, they gave him a platform to stand up, and yet it seems very counterbalanced against Israel at this moment in time. You can just. Were you shocked, Brian? Let me ask you this question. Were you shocked with the amount of anti-Semitism that we've seen throughout the world?
Goodness gracious.
Were you shocked?
It's horrific, yeah, it really is. It's really, really scary. It's just unbelievable that the patterns of 1930s Germany and Central Europe are repeating themselves. That people believe lies all the time, blood libels, things that are just not true about Israel. And it is just so... But
it must have been hovering underneath there.
Yes.
And what is scary to me is the amount of anti-Semitism that's been driven through the collegiate system, especially in the States, and where to the extent as where in certain colleges and universities, Jewish patrons have just gone, no more. No more, and pull back their finances because of the horrendous stuff that's going on.
There is.
With Jewish students have had to stay at home.
They have, they've had to not go in. They've had to be this thing. But the thing is, the point to make there, a couple of things, is that it's not the majority of students. Think of some of these colleges. They've got tens of thousands of students. And we know that there are people coming from the outside who are not even student members. There was a little video of Suella Braverman going to speak to these people with a journalist, and they wouldn't answer her. They wouldn't speak to her. And I think the question was saying, where are you from? A lot of them are not actually students. So firstly, why don't the student authorities, the university authorities, stop them? And so there must be some sort of complicitness between the educational establishment as well.
And the professors, and
that's right.
That's what they're teaching. And these, and sadly, they're not educated in the exact truths.
No, they're not. No, they don't want to hear the truth, do they?
No, and certainly not educated in the biblical truth of Israel. Do you know? Having said that, there is. I know that somewhere like Times Square Church are entering into the campuses of some of these big places and getting some prayer meetings going in there.
Oh, right, okay, that's good.
So they're coming forward in support. So, I think they've had a wave of, and then like you said, people have gone, hold on a minute, and it's sort of turned back on itself a little bit.
Yeah. It has, yeah. We've seen a robustness amongst in speaking about the UK, we've seen a real robustness rising up in the Jewish community and their allies, so the Iranians and some Christians and others as well, saying, we're not having this anymore. People have sort of woken up a little bit. Still a problem, but they're woken up and said, hang on, this isn't right.
I was going to ask you that. How is
right.
the Jewish community accepted in the UK?
Well, they thought they were. If you think about British tolerance and the place where many Jewish people came after the pogroms in Russia in the late 1800s and in the 1930s from Central Europe, and after, a lot of Jewish people came because it was a safe place and made their home here.
But the trouble is we've been inundated with there's this large, huge Muslim community, isn't there?
There is. It has definitely affected the demographic of our nation.
And we have a Muslim mayor in London and many Muslim councillors or whatever, haven't they? So there's an allowance of stuff to. I mean, who would have thought that every Saturday, London comes to a standstill, doesn't it?
It does. It must be costing a fortune.
With the police.
Police are on permanent overtime, aren't they?
Yeah. Is there any
police officers are on permanent overtime?
Marches coming up, Brian, that you're aware of within the Jewish community, and is there what's next on the agenda?
Yeah, well, there's been, I would say, counter demonstrations, if you like, every weekend now. So last Sunday, 40,000 people marched in support of the hostages was one of the primary things, but there was other causes were supporting Israel. So 40,000, that was a really good number in central London. But every week there is something going on. Like, for example, this Saturday in central London, they're calling what's called the watermelon. They're calling it that name. So they're asking people to come to London, carrying watermelons with country of origin Israel on it. It's just something, and that's at 1 p.m. on Saturday, this Saturday, the 8th of June. But every Saturday they're doing something, generally a counter demonstration. Yes, it's smaller, but it's interesting because I think the bigger demonstrations are falling in numbers now. All the sort of rent and mob. The students are doing their exams.
The students are back to their exams.
Yeah, all sort of stuff. People want to go on some holidays, they want to get back to their life. So you're getting more of a hardcore that are marching now. But there's always generally a static counter demonstration within a certain area for the protection.
What is good, though, Brian, is that you've got British patriots and Israelis, so you've got the Israeli flag and the Union Jack together. And
yes,
And
that's encouraging.
It's encouraging, yeah.
Are we finding that a lot of Jews are going back to Israel from the UK? Is there a migration?
There is, yeah. It's it did. I mean, obviously they were thinking, is it safe to go back? But what a lot of Jewish people have done is they've made sure they've got their citizenship sorted out. At least then they can go. Those who didn't have their citizenship are trying to say, right, okay, let's make sure we've got our papers in case we need to leave. Make sure that our finances can be portable, so that we can move our money, our property, or the money from our property back to Israel if we need to. So that's been one of the key things a lot have been doing. Of course, there's been an uptick in Aliyah. That's Jewish people wanting to emigrate back to Israel. They may not have never lived there, but in a sense, you're going back to your own people. Yeah. So that is on the rise as well. It's happening.
So scripture is happening.
Yeah, it is.
Script is happening, isn't it?
Yeah. From a spiritual point of view, it is what God said would happen.
Yeah.
Amazing what's going on. Brian, you brought so much to the table. What is happening within the ministry that you're involved in? What sort of things are on the table at this moment in time? Have you got loads of exciting things happening, or are you just holding it steady at the moment?
No, lots of good things happening. I think I've told about the schools before, the temporary school in Nazareth, the school we built in the centre of in Ra'anana, central Israel. And we're getting involved now. I can't say anything in full detail in building some other possible public buildings to help people. I'll be able to tell you at a later date because we're still talking about that. But it's good to work with the local Israeli authorities on doing that. We've got our kibbutz in the south, Kibbutz Ne'am. So if anyone wants to go to Israel to serve there, you have to go for a minimum of 2 weeks to serve on the kibbutz 300, 400 metres from the Gaza border. But the accommodation is free. and working with some of our team members, doing all sorts of work around the kibbutz. There's only about 10% of the people in the kibbutz itself, but they're like cleaning schools, tidying things up, doing a bit of agricultural stuff. So there's volunteer opportunity, and our volunteers are just beginning to arrive there. We're taking a solidarity tour to Israel in September, the 4th of September, for 1 week. People can come and see some of the sites, but also spend 2 days in the south visiting communities, bringing encouragement and solidarity work there as well. And what we're currently doing as well is trauma counselling. So our bears should have arrived by now, our teddy bears. Now, this is an interesting story. We had a call from an American organisation that produces a trauma teddy bear. They're used in school shootings and in various disasters around the world to help children. So at the centre of that is a trauma counselling package. So they are arriving, working in connection with Elim in Elim, UK.
Amazing, good
so
stuff.
These bears have been shipped to Israel, and they will be rolling out a trauma counselling package. And there's already people receiving trauma counselling families from us in Israel as well.
Fantastic. That's
So much
amazing.
stuff.
So, if you're listening out there and you want to support Brian and the work that Maoz UK are doing, then go to the website, Brian, and really your donation would be priceless. Really,
it would be.
That's
Thank
truth.
you. Thanks very much for that.
We want it'll go where it'll be the best needed, and these guys are doing some amazing work on the ground over there. So we'd invite you to go to the website, and if you feel the Lord has pushed you to that, then give a little donation, and let's see where it all lands. Yeah.
There we go. There's so much to talk about, but we've reached the end of this time. The meter is running out. But wherever you are across the world, we thank you so much for sharing all this stuff out. And as Simon has said, you can just go straight onto the website, maozisrael.org, and you can find all the stuff that's going on. We thank you, Brian, from the very bottom of our heart for sharing everything today. So we're out of here. We'll catch you soon. God bless. Have a great day. Never give up. God is with every one of us. Take care. God bless.